Bhakta Gadadhara Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Heva Kevalam. Kolam Nastyeva, Gatyananyata. Jayati Jayati Namanandarupam Murare Viramitani Jadharma Dhyana Pujariyatam Katamapi Sakridatam Muktinam Praninam Yat Paramamritam Ekanam Jivanam Bhushanam Me Madhuram Madhure Bhyopi Mahangale Bhyopi Mangalam Pavanam Pavane Bhyopi Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So reading from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern section, second wave. Sadhana Bhakti. So different names of devotional service were described. Seeing the deity, seeing the artik of the Lord, and the festival also. So here continuing from the worship of the Lord. Adi Shabdina Puja Darshanam Yatagyaye Pujitam Pujyamanam Va Ya Pashed Bhaktito Harim Sadaya Mudamanastu Sopi Yoga Palam Labet. The word Adi refers to seeing the worship as illustrated in Agni Purana. He who sees the Lord with devotion, faith and joy after he is worshipped or while he is being worshipped attains eternal service to the Lord. Purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Puyamanam means while the worship is being conducted. Yoga means devotion in the form of service to the Lord as described in the Pancharatra. So the worship of the Lord sometimes is described as Pancharatra Vidhi. So different names of deity worship. Puja, Panchanga Puja, Archanam, Nitya Seva, Paricharya, Acharya, and so on. So the first all seva from morning, waking up the deities till night time, putting the deities to rest. Bathing and dressing the deities, which are most important. Ata Shravanam. Shravanam namacharita gunadinam shutir bhavet. So next, hearing. Hearing means listening to the name, pastimes and qualities of the Lord. Nam Rupa Guna Lila. So we hear about Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. And then we'll be able to chant properly. Then we can remember properly. Then we can serve properly. Tatra nama shavanam yatha garude. Hearing the name of the Lord from Garuda Purana. Samsara sarpadashta nashta chetaika besajam. Krishneti Vaishnava mantram shutva mukto bhavin naraha. Hearing the Vaishnava mantra Krishna, which is the only effective medicine to counteract the bite of the snake of samsara, a man becomes liberated. Of course, there are different mantras which may be chanted, but the most important is the Hare Krishna mantra. But then other mantras may be there. Of course, Gayatri mantras are there, and even So, Krishna Saranam Mama and so on. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Gopal mantra may be there. But in the age of Kali, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Kali Yuga Avatari, has given the Maha mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Iti Sudashakam Namnam Kali Kalmasanasanam Nattara Patara Veda Sarva Vedish Uchate. So these 60 names of the Maha mantra, Kali Kalmasanasanam, they will destroy the kalmash, the impurities of the heart. Nattapatra Sarva Vedishu, Nattapartapaya. So there is no other upai, means, in the age of Kali than chanting the holy names, as Mahaprabhu has told. Sarva Vedishu Dishyati. Charitra Shavanam Yatha Chaturte. So in the fourth canto it is mentioned. Tasmin Mahamukarita Madhubit Charitra Piyusha Shesha Sarita Parita Savanti Taye Bibantyavatisho Nipagata Kanais Tanas Pishanti Asana Tridbhaya Shoka Moha. In that assembly, excellent streams of nectar of the pastimes of the Lord emanating from the mouth of the saintly devotees flow everywhere. Those who drink that nectar with eager ears, with constant thirst, O king, will forget the necessities of life, namely hunger and thirst, and become immune to all kinds of fear, lamentation, and illusion. So, difficulties are there in life. But if one is engaged in hearing about the Lord's pastime, then one may become free by constant hearing. But at least for the time being, when we hear the pastimes of the Lord, then we become free from all difficulties. And after hearing for sufficient amount of time, then Krishna may manifest in the heart, in the consciousness. So here the difficulties are explained. One will forget the necessities of life, especially hunger and thirst. And one may become free from fear and lamentation and illusion. But of course it will take time and it is not so easy. So even one is chanting and hearing, so chanting the holy names, hearing about Krishna's pastimes. So then for the time being one may be relieved. And even if one is trying constantly to be engaged. But material energy is very strong. And still impurities may be there in the heart. And then one may be affected by hunger and thirst, fearful situation. And then one may not be certain in understanding what should be done and what should not be done. Jiva Goswami's commentary. The profuse rivers, Shesha Sarita, of pastimes of Krishna transformed into words, Mukkarita. So Krishna's pastimes are eternal and ordinary persons cannot see. But they may be transmitted through Mukkarita, through the lotus mouth of a pure devotee, an advanced devotee, who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Then he speaks and then pastimes will manifest. Krishna will manifest. by speaking about Krishna. Krishna's wonderful name, his form, his qualities, and the pastimes, and the day they may manifest. And then those who are fortunate, those who are attentive, so they will be able to become absorbed and forget the miseries of this material existence. So the profuse rivers of pastimes of Krishna, transformed into words and emanating from the devotee's mouth, in the assembly of devotees flow everywhere. Mukharita means transformed into sound or words. The sentence suggests that the pastimes have spontaneously turned themselves into words with their proper meanings, since they flow like rivers. Shesha here means excellent. Shesha means excellent or profuse. Shesh, also without the end, so constantly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. The profuse rivers of pastimes of Krishna, which are loudly spoken by the devotees, in the assembly of devotees, flow everywhere. Hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, and illusion do not touch those who drink that nectar with constant thirst through attentive ears. So one must be very eager to drink that nectar, thirst. So two kinds of thirst. One is material, trishna, asat trishna, thirst for material things. And then thirst for spiritual things, sat trishna, transcendental things, for thirst for hearing about Krishna, thirst for serving Krishna, speaking about Krishna. So that has to be there. Lolyam, so that is explained also. Famous verse quoted by Rupa Goswami in Padyavali. So Prabhupada also mentioned that verse. And so I can't remember the Sanskrit, but the meaning is that, so the eagerness should be there, lolyam, to attain devotional service. So one has to endeavor with great eagerness, that is the prize, to attain Krishna consciousness, lolyam. And it should be gotten by any cost. And usually so, we are in the association of the devotees who are more advanced, the devotees who have this thirst to serve Krishna, to glorify Krishna. So that is also explained in regards to bhav. Those on that platform of bhav. So the symptoms are mentioned there. So they're not wasting any time in doing something which is not conducive, which is not favorable for devotional service. And they're very eager to visit the pastimes places of the Lord. They're very eager to perform devotional service, to chant the holy names, to hear about Krishna. So they're not wasting one moment in doing something which is not favorable. Guna Shravanam Yatha Dvadasha, in the 12th canto, hearing the qualities of the Lord. Yastu tamashloka gunanuvadaha sangiyate abhiksham mangalagna tameva nityam shinuyat abhikshnam krishne malam bhaktim abhipsa manaha. The person who desires pure devotional service to Lord Krishna should hear the narrations of Lord Uttama Shloka's glorious qualities, the constant chanting of which destroys everything inauspicious. The devotee should engage in such listening in the regular daily assemblies and should continue his hearing throughout the day. Jiva Goswami's commentary. One should hear every day, nityam. So nityam means daily, or nityam can mean also constantly, eternally. Also another word is there, constantly, abhiksham. So not wasting a moment. So one should hear every day constantly descriptions of the qualities of the avatars of the Lord and His devotees. Uttama Shloka. So not only we hear about Krishna's qualities or Krishna's pastimes, but also His devotees. As Rupa Goswami is explaining, Krishna smaram janam chascha nija prishnam samahitam tat kata arachascha saukoryad vasam vraja sada. So we should remember Krishna, Krishna smaran, and then janam cha asya, and then Krishna's devotees, jan. So also, certainly, nija prishtam samihitam, nija prishtam, who are his own dear ones. So Krishna's devotees, Krishna's associates in Braj, the gopis, the manjaris, Maria Yashoda, Krishna's friends, they are Mukunda Preshta, dear to Mukunda, to Krishna. So they are Krishna's nijat, Krishna's own associates. Krishna's beloveds, Krishna's friends. So we should constantly endeavor to hear about Krishna and Krishna's devotees. This means that one should do that with great enthusiasm. One should be always enthusiastic. Utsa nishcheddaryat. Enthusiasm is important. But sometimes difficulties are there, and then devotees, they become somewhat dejected. Sometimes they will also say, I'm depressed. So it may be there due to some difficulties, but one has to remain enthusiastic and understand this material world and the problems of this material world, and be fixed and always remain enthusiastic despite all difficulties. Some physical difficulties, maybe there, mental agony difficulties, but one will go on. Even one may not feel so much pleasure in doing devotional service, sometimes due to modes of material nature, but one has to simply push on for Krishna's pleasure, and then we will also get some transcendental pleasure. So Krishna is most merciful and kind. He's especially helping his devotees. So he's actually very much looking forward for us to take shelter of him. And he's always there helping. The result of such hearing is then stated, pure bhakti to Krishna. So by endeavoring, by hearing, by serving attentively, then one may attain bhakti in due course of time. But we have to be enthusiastic, one has to be fixed, and one has to be patient. One who desires pure bhakti to Krishna should hear in this way. Here Krishna means particularly the Lord in the form of a cowherd boy. Since the Bhagavan Tam denotes this form of the Lord as Bhagavan Swayam, as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, text number, which one? 43 or 28? Maybe 28 or 43, but in the 3rd chapter. Ete chamsa kalapam sam krishnastu bhagavan sayam indriyarvyakulam logam ridyante yuge yuge. So Krishna is Sayam Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of everything. So that means Krishna, so that is significant. In the form of a cowherd boy, that means Krishna and Braj. Because Krishna in Mathura is not a cowherd boy. Krishna in Dwarka is not a cowherd boy. So the king of Mathura, king of Dwarka. And there's some own reverence there. Whereas in Braj, sweetness is there. Atata kripekshanam yatha dashyami, the 10th canto, expecting the Lord's mercy. Tate nukampam susumiksamano bunjana evatta kritam vipaksham ridvag bababir vidadan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak, very famous verse. So tate anukampam. So anukampa means the mercy. Those who are waiting for the mercy of Krishna, tate refers to Krishna. And so at that time, so difficulties are still there. Bhujana evatma kritam vipakam. So one still has to undergo some difficulty in the conditioned state due to past misdeeds. But one should simply continue offering respectful obeisances. Rid vag vabhavir. Rid with the heart. Vag, the words, vapubhir. Vapu means the body. Vidadan namaste. And then jiveta soyum yo mukti pade sadaya bhakt. So those who do so, always engage in devotional activities, patiently tolerating the sufferings of past misdeeds. So, for him liberation is guaranteed. Muktipad. Muktipad means the liberation, the platform of liberation, Muktipad. Sadaya Bhak. So that means it is his rightful claim, Daya Bhak. He can claim, oh Krishna, I served you so much, now please be merciful to me. Of course, usually devotees is not begging Krishna for anything. At the same time, some expectation is there. And some hope is there, Ashabandha, that I'm serving Krishna, I'm not expecting anything. But at the same time still hoping to get the mercy of the Lord. Because without the mercy of the Lord, special mercy, so we cannot really become perfect. And that is actually quite natural. And so being in this material world in the conditioned state, we want to become liberated from all difficulties and attain devotional service, pure devotional service, so that we can properly engage in Krishna's service, so we can enter Krishna's pastimes and feel the transcendental bliss of the wonderful exchange with Krishna. So Dayabhak, so it is mentioned just like so Jiva Goswami, should be commentary by Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Jiva Goswami is saying, In this world, two different sadhanas are there. Expecting the glance of mercy and offering obeisances are mentioned together to glorify their exalted positions. They should be both understood to have great results. So, offering obeisances has to be there to the Lord. And then expecting the glance of mercy. So we are endeavoring, prayas, and then kripa, mercy. And actually both are required. Simply by endeavoring, but if we don't get the mercy of the Lord, then we will not become perfect. Similarly, if we think Krishna will be merciful to me, and he is not doing anything, so that will also not do. Then we just say one time Jagannath. Let me one time chant Hare Krishna. Let me go to Jaipur, see Madan Mohan Govinda Dev Gopinath, and I get pure bhakti. So that is okay. The statements are true also. But then it depends of the individual, how much is implying himself to the process of devotional service. If one is not fully absorbed, then he cannot expect the full mercy. Even if one is fully absorbed, so he may expect the mercy, but it may take some time. So sometimes the examples are given of the small monkey and the small cat. So the small cat is wandering here and there and not worried about anything. But then if danger is there, the mother is coming and taking the small kitten, the cat, by the neck and going to some other place. But the small cat is not worried about anything and not doing anything, and is being carried by the mother. And the second one is the small monkey, and you can see that practically also. That the small monkey is hanging on to the mother. And the mother is jumping here and there, and they're not falling off, because they're holding tightly. So, and also the cat is taking the small cat, the kid, his baby cat, by the neck, and so, but it is not too much pressure there in the bite or in the catching. But if a mouse is there, then the cat is coming and catching also by the neck and squeezing, and the mouse is finished. So, but very lovingly, the mother cat is taking the small baby cat, and then the cat is safe. So, but actually both are required. So we should be like the small little monkey and holding on to the lotus feet of Guru and Gauranga. We have to hold on. So endeavor has to be there. But then we need the mercy of the Lord also, because simply by our endeavor we will not be able to succeed. We need the mercy, because we are insignificant and we don't have the spiritual strength. So therefore we need the mercy of the Lord, and then we may be able to engage in devotional service. Then we will get spiritual strength. And the mercy of the Lord may come directly, or mostly it is coming through the devotee, the representative of the Lord. Krishna Kripa Sri Murti is the embodiment of Krishna's mercy, the Spirit Master. So it's carrying the mercy of Krishna, and then he's giving to the sincere devotees. So the acharyas also have explained that although it's like hopeless situation, our situation, we're trying, but it is difficult, and So we try to chant nicely, but the mind is going here and there, trying to serve, but not so easy. And then so many difficulties there. But then if we are blessed with the good fortune of the merciful glance of Radha Krishna, or the merciful glance of Mahaprabhu, or the representative of Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna, the Spirit Master, or the exalted Vaishnavas, then it becomes somewhat easier. But still we have to endeavor. That always has to be there, the endeavor. So as mentioned before, when we hear, so Nitya Bhikshanam, so daily, always, constantly we have to endeavor to serve Krishna with the body, but that is not sufficient. But then, especially with the consciousness, one has to endeavor to think about Krishna, to be engaged in devotional service, so mentally and then, of course, then physically also. And so the mind, or the jiva, is there in the body, and he has to try to engage everything in Krishna seva, the subtle body and the gross body. And then Krishna is seeing the endeavor of the devotee, and then he's bestowing his mercy. And usually we say causeless mercy. So Krishna is causelessly merciful. We may not be deserving, but Krishna sometimes is still giving his mercy, or mostly. So we're hoping for the causeless mercy of Hari, Guru, Vaishnava.
So we should be like both like cat's child and
We should be
child.
We should be both. Like a small monkey, we should hold on to the lotus feet of Guru, Garanga, Krishna. So to catch the lotus feet of.
Like we should give our
That means our endeavor has to be there.
endeavors, and we should depend on Krishna's mercy.
Also we should depend on Krishna's mercy. That is like the small cat. So both has to be there. We have to depend on the mercy. We cannot depend on our endeavor.
Yes.
That is not sufficient. We cannot attain the Lord by our own endeavor. But when He is merciful, then we can conquer Krishna. Atasi Krishna namadi na bhavid gremendriya sevamukhe jivaro swayam eva spuratyadaha. So Krishna cannot be perceived with the material senses. With the eyes you cannot see Krishna. With the material eyes, with material ears you cannot hear Krishna speaking, Krishna playing the flute. You cannot touch Krishna. Sevamukhi jivado swayam eva spuratyadaha. But sevanmukh, if we are sevanmukh, seva unmukh, if we are inclined to serve, seva vritti, seva bhav should be there. The mood that I want to serve Krishna. And then we start jivado, starting with the tongue, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then by taking Krishna Prasad. So, and then, but then the other senses have to be engaged also. So you have to see the deity, who is no different from Krishna. He comes in this form, in the Archa Vigraha. He descends, Archavatar, Krishna, so we can see him, perceive him, because with our material eyes we cannot see Krishna. But when he comes in the form of the deity, made of this element of this world, but transcendental, then we can see him. And then we can remember him. And then we can properly advance. And then, so if you're fully engaged, with all the senses, the mind, intelligence, and Krishna Seva. Swayam eva spurati adaha. The Krishna himself, Swayam, spurti, spurti. So he will manifest. Krishna's transcendental form, his qualities, his pastimes will manifest. So both have to be done. One has to endeavor, and one should expect the glance of the mercy of the Lord. So first Guru Kripa should be there, and then Guranga Kripa, and then Radha Kripa. And therefore the devotees, they chant Radha Kripa Kataksha Stotram Munindra Vindavandite Triloka Shokaharini Prasanna Bhakta Pankaje Nikunja Bhuvilasini Brajendra Bhanu Nandini Brajendra Sonu Sangate Kada Karishasi Hama Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam. So, praying for the merciful sidelong glance of Srimati Radharani. And then if we are blessed in this way, then our lives are successful. So, we have to endeavor, we have to do sadhana, bhakti, engage in practical devotional service, and then we expect the merciful glance of the Lord. They should be both understood to have great results. So endeavoring sadhana, doing sadhana, then the result will be there. And if we pray for the mercy, then we may get the special mercy also. And then one will be able to advance nicely. Mukti Pade means the Lord, the shelter, 10 topics of discussion in Bhagavatam, of liberation. Mukti Pade means the Lord, the shelter of liberation. So famous verse from Bhagavatam, Atta sarga visargascha stanam poshanam uttaya manvantara senat manvantar ishanukata nirodha muktir ashray. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 topics are there. Creation, then secondary creation, then so poshanam, maintaining. So the Lord actually is the source of everything. Like He's supplying all the material elements. And then Lord Brahma, so He's the secondary creator. So different topics are there described, and then the different incarnations are mentioned also. But then later on, so mukti is mentioned, liberation, one wants to become liberated from this material existence. But that is not sufficient. But then one has to take shelter, ashray, of Guru Garanga Krishna. And then one has to actually be fully engaged in devotional activities, bhakti. So ashray means the abode of Lord. So Srimati Radharani, Mahabhav Sarupini, she is the embodiment of pure love. So we take shelter of Srimati Radharani, and then we hope and we pray that we may be able to get a causeless mercy. And then, so we may be able to attain perfection. So such a person becomes the rightful claimant of the Lord, who is the shelter of liberation. So one who is fully engaged, and he will get the mercy. And so Dayabak, just like it is mentioned, that it is normal in this world also. So family is there, husband and wife, and then they have children. And so the children, where the parents are old and then they're leaving the body, so the claimant of the lords of the parents' property, wealth. So it is natural that usually property of the parents will be then divided under the children. So each child can claim something from the wealth of the father of the parents. So that is there according to scriptures, even according to law. Of course, different places they have different laws. But like in some places in Europe, so if it is not otherwise mentioned usually, so of the wealth, if the husband is there, husband and wife, if the wife dies, or the husband, if the wife dies, of course, then the children are there. And then if the husband or the father dies, then it will be divided. But if the wife is still living, then she will get half, and the other half will be divided amongst the children. So, but different places, they may have different laws. And then, of course, sometimes the will is there. So the person will write his will. I will give so much to my wife, so much to my children, and then some amount I will give to charitable institutions. So like this, that is also possible. So just like also Rup Goswami, when he was working for Nabab Hussain Shah, so he got a lot of gold coins, wealth. So he was actually the prime minister. But then he decided to retire, and he took permission and he granted, so he took his wealth. And then he decided to surrender to Mahaprabhu. And he thought, I don't need this gold and all these things. So then he divided one part for his family members. One part he was distributing to the Brahmanas, to the Vaishnavas. But then he kept one part for emergencies. So he thought, because sometimes emergency may be there, or I may need, or maybe some of the family members. And later on, then there was a need. And so that wealth was given to Sanatana Goswami to some extent. So that is usually the system. So we may be able to properly live in this world. So we need something in this world. One needs a place to stay, one needs some clothing, one needs to eat something. Of course, if one is engaged in some activity, then he will get the result. According to Varna Ashram also, one has to be engaged. Of course, Krishna's devotees, they're depending on Krishna, but usually one should act also according to Varna Ashram, externally. So some occupation should be there. As a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, one is engaged, and then one will get something by one's activities, and then he can take care of himself, or if his household or brahmachari grihastha or his vanaprastha, and he may give charity. And the sannyasi, of course, is fully absorbed in devotional activities. But then he may get some dakshina by giving knowledge or by accepting disciples. But that is using in Krishna seva. Or he will engage it for the benefit of the conditioned souls by arranging for prasad, distribution of prasadam, distribution of books. So devotee sarva bhutehi te rataha is not thinking only about himself, but he's thinking about others, how to help others, how to benefit others. If you are in this consciousness trying to help others also, always, then in the future also if we need something, then Krishna will help. Directly of Krishna through his devotees, he will help another devotee. So the devotees who are nicely engaged, then they can realize that also. So the Lord exists as a property to be apportioned to the devotee. So the devotees, they can expect the mercy and they will get the mercy of the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining. Understanding the meaning of this topic, having given up all other practices and performing only bhakti, one will attain you. However, in what manner should a person do this? In expectation of such a question, this verse is quoted. That here means therefore, indicating that because of the glories of the Lord mentioned in the previous verse, the devotee acts in this way. Atmakritam vipakam means happiness and suffering that occur during performance of bhakti. By engaging in devotional service, some happiness will be there. That is natural. Of course, different kinds of happiness are there. First of all, the sadhaka who is practicing, he will sometimes be happy and sometimes not so happy. But it is usually because he's under modes of material nature still. And it is natural in this world, and that is mostly for everyone, they will feel some happiness and some distress. And there, karma, of course, is there also. If one has been pious, then one will be experiencing more happiness. If one is sinful, then there will be more suffering. Unhappiness will be there. So therefore, in the present life, we should always try to be engaged in devotional activities, and we should try to be positive, we should try to help others, and we should try to be in the mode of goodness. And then we will experience more happiness. That is mentioned in the scriptures also in the Bhagavad Gita. That the mode of goodness is characterized by the feeling of happiness. One is feeling happy most of the time because he's in a mode of goodness. Whereas in a mode of passion, one will have mixed experiences of happiness or distress. If one is in a mode of ignorance, then he will experience more suffering. But that is all under the modes of material nature. But if one is engaged in devotional activities and becomes more advanced, then he is feeling transcendental happiness. And then he can easily perform devotional service. At the same time, so he may also feel some transcendental distress. Happiness and distress are there in the devotee's life, even if one is more advanced. But the more one is advanced, the more it will be transcendental happiness and transcendental distress, feeling separation from the Lord, or still feeling that I'm not able to serve nicely, feeling I'm not able to help others. So that may be there. But that is considered transcendental if Krishna is firmly in the center. If one is purified in consciousness, then it is transcendental happiness and transcendental sadness, transcendental distress. Transcendental eagerness is there to attain perfection. So verses quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharmasya hi apavargasya nato ritayopal pakalpate natasya dharmaikantasya kamo labhaye smritaha. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. We should be engaged in this world, in devotional service, and act also, as mentioned here, occupational engagement should be there. We should act according to varnashram. So all our endeavors should be for the pleasure of the Lord. They should never be performed for material gain. And then specifically it is mentioned, furthermore, according to the sages. So the sages, they are telling what to do and what not to do. And the spiritual master will guide. So how we may be able to advance in spiritual life by chanting the holy names, by serving the deities, by hearing about Krishna. And then is explaining furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. A secondary, unsought result of bhakti is happiness. The results of aparads are suffering. So if you are favorably engaged in devotional service, then you will feel happy. But if some anarthas are there, and one is overcome by asat trishna, thirst for material things, or if the heart is weak, determination is weak, hriday dorbalya, weakness of heart, one is trying to engage in devotional service, one is trying to control the senses, the mind. So, but at the same time, due to weakness of heart, because one is not fixed yet on the spiritual plane, transcendental plane, that one may again engage in activities which are not favorable. And then as mentioned here, aparad. So, seva parad, dhamma parad, Vaishnava Parad. And then also Jiva Hingsa. So, causing pain to other living entities. That is an offense if it is unnecessary. So, experiencing both of these results from his bhakti, the devotee sees this clearly and accurately as your mercy. So by engaging in devotional service, so one may feel some transcendental pleasure, but at the same time, if one is in the beginning stage, then some difficulty may be there. But even that, he will see as the Lord's mercy. If some difficulty is there, it is the Lord's mercy. So that is the consciousness of a devotee. Everything is the Lord's mercy. Ishwaram yad karoti, shobhanam eva karoti. So whatever Krishna is doing is auspicious, although sometimes you may not see. But we should have the faith, the understanding that everything is Krishna's mercy. And then we will really get the mercy of the Lord if one is in this consciousness. He knows that the happiness and distress that he is experiencing stems from the Lord's mercy alone. It is just like a father who sometimes makes his son drink milk and sometimes bitter juice made from nimba leaves. So the father or the mother will give milk to the child, which is by itself milk already has some sweet taste. But then you may add some sugar to make it more sweet, more palatable. So he may give that, and usually everyone likes milk. So, but sometimes if there's some disease, then the father will make some juice with the neem leaves, which is a little bitter. So, but it is necessary sometimes if there is some disease to give some bitter medicine, and then he becomes cured from the disease. So, but if the father is giving the bitter juice, it doesn't mean that he wants to give trouble to the child. He wants to help the child.
Cure his disease.
Yeah. And the devotees, the mature devotees, they're always in this mood that everything is Krishna's mercy. And sometimes they say, oh, it's Krishna's mercy, it's Krishna's mercy. Or it's Krishna's desire. Ram Ichase. There's one sadhu coming from Bihar, Ram Bhaktan, is always saying, Ram Ichase. So I'm here. So Ram Ichase, by the desire of Ram, I'm here. Ram Ichase yahan aaya hua hai. I came here by the mercy of, by the desire of Ram. And then he goes for taking prasadam. Ram Ichase, ja raha hu prasad lene ke liye. I'm going to take prasad by the desire of Ram. Ya kripa se, Krishna kripa se. So we see not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Lord. That is the division of a devotee. It's positive, seeing everything positive. And then actually everything is positive. But if you are negative, then things are negative. So we should be positive, enthusiastic, patient. So I do not know, but the Lord, like a father, knows what is good and bad for me, and thus sometimes He embraces and kisses me, and sometimes slaps me. I, His devotee, have no power at all over karma and time. He alone, by His mercy, makes me experience happiness and distress and makes me serve Him. The devotee considers his situation this way, in the manner of King Prithu. So a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tanmaya yadha jana isha kandito yad anyata shastaritat mano buddha yatha charit bala hitam pita swayam tatha tam evarhasi na samihitam. My Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position. And out of ignorance, they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take some material benefit from you, but as a father, not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think is best for me. So the devotee has faith that the Lord will always take care of him. So that is a symptom of surrender. The Lord will always protect me. The Lord will supply whatever I need to maintain my body, but also for my spiritual advancement. He will give me guidance from the heart or through the devotees, so I can advance more and more. Revealing himself daily to the Lord, offering respect with his mind, words and body, passing his life while not being unduly tormented, the devotee becomes the rightful claimant of mukti, or liberation from samsara, and pad, or service, at the Lord's lotus feet. So mukti is there first, to become free from this material existence. And pad, that refers to being situated at the Lord's lotus feet and being awarded with service. So we want to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, means we want to serve Krishna, we are serving Krishna. As remaining alive is the cause of a good son receiving his inheritance, so the devotee remaining alive in this world with steadiness on the path of bhakti is the cause of his receiving freedom from samsara and service to the Lord. In a similar manner it is said, Kritaya iva swasanti ashubrito yadite anuvidha. Only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actual life. Otherwise their breathing is like that of a bellows. So we are breathing, we are alive, right? If we are engaged in devotional service. If we are not serving Krishna, although we are breathing, we are not alive. So this is the bellow, you know the bellow? There is a bellow, you know? Huh? The breathing is like that. If you're not engaged in this devotional service, breathing is like that of a bellows. Huh? No. So that is, you can see in some places, in the West they use a lot also. So if you have a fire and you want to make it more strong, then have something as a kind of, how to explain, I've seen that also. You know? No? No, it is a kind of instrument almost, and then they push it together like this, and by the pushing the air is coming.
Oh, that's all.
This
Like
is a
this
bellows.
what we feel in the cycle tube also, or
No,
this
no.
balloon, no?
No.
Like this we pump it.
No, well, that is one way, but it is different.
Achha.
Like you have a harmonium, you press it together,
And
but it has two handles, and you press it together, and then the air is coming out.
It's like zigzag type.
No, it is strong air, because like for example, you have a fire, you can take like a piece of paper and you do like this. Some air is coming, or you can blow, although we don't blow, but you can blow, but it will not help so much. But if you have the bellow, so then you have this bellow, and then the air is coming very forcefully, and then the fire is
more strong.
more strong, yeah. But the bellow, so actually has no life. The bellow has no life. By itself, it cannot do anything. So, but then, because the person is there and is using that, therefore the air is coming. Or you have a stick, and you maybe use the stick for walking. So, or you may beat somebody with a stick. So, actually the stick is not doing anything. It is a person who is beating, not the stick, right? Stick is the instrument. So the bellow also here is the instrument. But it is not living. So similarly, so if we engage in devotional service, therefore it is mentioned, then we are alive. But if we are not engaged in devotional service, then we are just breathing like the bellow. And what is the use? I mean, some use is there, we can live, but ultimately there's no life there if Krishna is not in the center. That is the meaning. Jai. So we should expect the mercy of the Lord, but we should be engaged in devotional activities, namely as mentioned here. So, hearing about the glories of the Lord's name, form, qualities and pastimes. And then glorification has to be there, and afterwards comes remembrance. Hare Krishna. Any question? Okay. Hare Krishna.